Another wonderful Friday on the Reporters Lounge, and I am Simi Atabaru. And today on the program, we will be looking critically into the issues dominating the news in the course of the week. Definitely, we'll be starting with the federal government, and of course, Lucy asking the federal government to give a mandate, that's the Emir of Kano, mandate to resolve Fulani crisis in Nigeria. We're starting on that note and move to the price hike. Talking about fuel scarcity and of course the hike being experienced nationwide. We have NNPC increasing the pump price of petrol from 580 naira, depending on your location. On average, we have 580 naira to 897 naira, depending on where you are in Nigeria. I have the list of places, of course, within this region. That's so far how much we will be getting it. You have reactions from business owners, and medical doctors are also talking about the effect this will have on the citizens. And move from there, we talk about state police. NEC directs state governors to submit reports on state police. You have Burkina Faso introduces new passport without ECOWAS logo. This is an instructive move. They've been talking about it. And definitely, it's like they are acting what they've been saying over time. With respect to leaving ECOWAS, the bloc, now to create their own new bloc in the Saharian region. So let's get to the business, and doing this with me this lovely morning is Dara Adibimpe. Thank you so much for joining.
Senior, it is nice to be here again, to do it again, and I pray that everything will go smoothly and it will be smooth sailing, and we enjoy viewers to join us as we tarry on this program.
So talking about, moving on the program, we would be looking at the first one, the Emir Sanusi seeks federal government's mandate to resolve Fulani crisis. There are lots of them. You have banditry, you have kidnapping, you have, we can say kidnapping is more like a national emergency. Definitely it's not restricted to the Fulani area, the northern part of Nigeria, but sacrosanct information based on this report. You have a whole lot of issue of after school crisis. You have the issue of cattle rustling. You have that of farmer headers crisis. Why we have food increase year in, year out. The farmers are complaining about insecurity, especially in the Middle Belt and of course some northern states. These are realities of this region, and we have the Emir of Kano State saying that I just need the federal government to give me the mandate to go ahead. I'm going to ensure that the strategy in place would solve this problem. Is this a practical step in the right direction?
When you look at all the crises behind the Fulani, you begin to imagine that what is it that these things have been lingering on for so long. And it all, when you look at how it all started, you look at the issue of Boko Haram, which started maybe in the early 2000s, in Borno, and now it was Andu, and then later it got on to Farmer Adas crisis. Of course, the issue of Amajari has been simmering on for so long. These are children that are long abandoned on the streets, that were not taken care. And of course, the issue of banditry came in, the issue of terrorism came in, coupled with the issue of ISIS, and what have you in that area. It is unfortunate that the issue of non-state actors have been dictating the pace, even in this part of the region of Nigeria. And it all boils down to the issue of leadership. In that part of the axis of this country, we begin to ask, what has been the major actions that have been taken by the state actors, even in addressing this issue? The insecurity that we seemingly have been, having in the country, even can be attributed to the issue of informal others, as well as the infiltration of the ISIS, which has made the issue of Boko Haram more complex, you know. And then, of course, you know the issue of the Liberian crisis. Soldiers or arms that were used in that crisis.
And Libya too.
Libya. And of course, the issue of the Sahelian region, the issue of Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. Those things have been transferred even as part of our problems in Nigeria now. But just to tackle the issue, it has to be an holistic action, taken not just by federal government this time around, by Emir of Sanusi, because those in that particular region have to decide whether they want a peaceful environment, whether they want a prosperous future for not just the region, but for the country at large. They need to come together.
There's something instructive about the personality of the Emir of Kano. You recall what happened when he was removed as the Emir. And of course, it was instructive because there were allegations of you being an Emir, and of course you have to face the Emirship and not really, confronting government and all of that. He has been well outspoken at the beginning of his tenure, even before now. He's speaking up for the northern children, largely the girls, and this looks like it's not really going down well with the leaders, with other leaders in that region. How well do you think he can battle and win this time around, even if the federal government eventually gives him the mandate?
The voice of the Emir will continuously be against the majority in that area, giving his antecedent. Why did I say so? Yes.
Is it the majority or the political elite of the northern
whichever way
states?
You want to put, whichever way you want to classify it, they are still in the majority. Why I'm saying so is the fact that I said looking at his antecedent is somebody who is not only embedded in the culture of that area, is somebody who has been able to blend with the Western education, with the Western the culture of the North, with Western education, in order to make him a well-articulated person, not just talking out of yes, I'm in a position to talk, but talking with facts, talking with what he has experienced, talking with what he has seen, talking with what he looked forward for that area, because, like I said, he's antecedent, well literate, well educated. You can call him an aristocrat with Western education, apart from being somebody that is in love with the culture of his people. And he's so much concerned that if the other regions of the country are moving ahead, what is affecting my own region? And that's why he's being vocal.
A part of the narrative in the northern part of Nigeria is largely the issue, so the southerners will say that when you say poverty, education, they are in the
streams.
Exactly. So along the line, you now say that it is because a lot of people would say that the northern leaders are not poor. So why do we continue to have this number? So tackling this would mean that he is going to confront the leaders, especially the governors, and of course the political leaders of that region, talking about out-of-school children. In fact, I was watching an interview by the governor of Niger, and of course he was hell-bent on saying that the culture that promotes, it has to do with religion now, the culture that promotes having multiple wives did not really say that people should have multiple wives and children without actually making provisions for them. So more like they're trying to tinker with that religious belief that have been dominating the northern region, to the point of saying, oh, they want to use it, some will say that it's because of the numbers now. Democracy talks about the numbers, so they encourage their people to give birth to as many children as possible, definitely to use them as political tools to get into power. But now they're also talking about we are ready to confront that reality that even if the Quran is saying that we should do this, there is always a caveat. If you cannot take care of children, then why do you have to give birth to as many as you wish if you do not have the capacity to do that? So the religious aspect of it is also going to be embedded in this strategy that this emir is talking about. And the cultural practice of the northern, how do you think he would navigate through if given the mandate along the line, and government also having to protect the people?
You see, like I said earlier on, it depends on the political will of the, like you said, political elites. They are not in the majority, but they are the majority minority over the majority. They seem to be rich as we look at them, but is the entirety of the citizens of that part of the region rich? Does it reflect? Because when we begin to look chronologically, the order of leadership in this country as to who or which region has had the privilege of leading this country politically, you will find out that majority of the leaders of this country emanated from that area. And you will now begin to look at it. If these people have been opportune to be the majority and to occupy the leadership of this country for so long, why the seeming popularization of that region? And it boils down to the issue of education. Education has to be taken holistically. And that is why I said it depends on what they want to do collectively, not only the state actors. It includes all the non-state actors, even non-governmental organizations, human rights, advocacy will have to play a major role in this particular area. It is not only for the emir to go alone.
Exactly.
It is not only for the emir, because if he does not have people supporting him in this in this kind of action, it will be a failure.
All right.
There must be a reawakening, so to say, from both the political elite as well as the entire northern citizenry at large.
All right, maybe that would put an end to the crisis they've been experiencing in the northern part of the country. Some would say that healthy competition is the best way to develop the people or the land, talking about the south and the north. And if we are competing, it should be that you say, oh, my children are well taken care of. Those are part of the narratives that people want to hear, not really saying that, not really encouraging the negative, stereotype that have been dominating the media in terms of education, in terms of poverty in the north, education, lack of education, and terrorism and the likes. And maybe this is the time that we've given the mandate. They will be able to bring the critical stakeholders together to solve this issue. Away from that, we move to the most important, and of course not really most important, but of course it affects you and I, which is the fuel prices in Nigeria presently. Fuel hikes, fuel price hikes have killed our businesses. Transporters, artisans lament, and we have a report to that effect here from Ogtv. Our crew actually went out to see the effect of this on businesses. Maybe we take a break so we have that interview, the report, so that you can also enjoy in the contributions from different quarters.
We are trying to sell market. Even you will pray, there is no customer. We will call them, they will price the market below what we are buying in the markets, and then we cannot endure it again. This thing we have tired.
The cost of transportation has discouraged our market women from going to rural areas to buy in bulk. Business owners and entrepreneurs say it will in turn have ripple effect on prices of goods and services.
Before, I usually do free delivery for my customers, for my farm, because the farm is far from town. So when they order, I will deliver free. Maybe I will start charging for delivery now, so that to cover for. We will try not to increase the price of our food that we sell or our products, but maybe we will start charging for delivery.
Some are of the opinion that there is need to encourage business owners and entrepreneurs, as they are an integral part of the economy.
I have workers that pay their salaries. Even though I try to employ my workers in my environment so that transportation will be reduced, but it's absolutely impossible for you to employ everybody from your area. If the cost of transportation doubles, the cost of feeding, because the guy selling food is going to bring it with transport, the guy from the village is going to bring the food stuff from the village, so everything will escalate. Then with the entrepreneurs, I can tell you that we have doubled the prices of our products, but the profits we are making is lesser than what we were making.
They called on government to seek lasting solution to the incessant increase in pump price, as it is a determining factor in the economy and prices of goods and services.
That was a report by Margaret Okunola of the reportorial desk, Ogun State Television. You heard artisans, you've heard what they have to say with the current hike. It came as a shock to a lot of people, even though the other stations apart from NNPC have been selling above 600 naira. I think the last time I bought fuel was 920 naira, and
not NNPCL.
Not NNPCL before the increment from
it used to be 580.
So you get to hear the lamentation come even before NNPC jerking the price. Now you have Nigerians already complaining. When you get to bus stops, you see a lot of people, limited vehicles to convey them to their destinations, and you have NMA talking about how this would affect the health of Nigerians that are already impoverished, no food to eat as such, but then depression will set in, cost of transportation, people would have to go and look for their daily bread, and a lot of issues actually associated with this fuel increment. And Labour is saying that the president actually disappointed them, tricked them into signing an agreement that they feel that they would, not do this to Nigerians. And you have multiplicity effect of these reactions coming from different angles. You also have the Dangote refinery, people believing that this is going to create a new order when it comes to the crisis we've been having in the fuel, the oil and gas sector in Nigeria. I don't know which angle you want to address it first before we delve into the real issues.
First, I just want to praise Nigerians for the courage to tarry this far. This is a problem that this nation ought not to face if we have planned very well. And they often say that when you are not planning for what you want to do, all what you are doing is just that you are heading towards a failure. For years now, Nigeria as a country and government as a body has depended so much on one economy since the advent of petrodollar, when we have so found petroleum in that Niger Delta. And we have seen it as a cash cow where you can get money so easily. And everybody that at one time or the other had opportunity to be in governance had wanted one thing or the other to take a bite out of that sector. The shenanigans that is happening in that sector, it's really an embarrassment to not only Nigeria, but to the black nation as a whole. Because this nation, we always make bold to say, is the most dominant black nation in the world. And God has endowed it, not just with this black gold, but with other mineral resources. But we seemingly have faced these mineral resources not well managed. But there used to be a leader who used that commodity to improve the lot of his people. I remember in those days, since we were in the other institution, when Gaddafi was ruling in Libya, Libyans were enjoying. At every year, each family will be looking forward to what we get out of the revenue accruing from oil. Equally, if you want to study, you have access to study to any length. Even when you finish your study, a job is already awaiting you. And then, of course, you have housing plan. Even with that one commodity, the man turned a desert place to a green ground. There was no water in Libya. It matured from the via the river Nile down to Sahara, passed water, and made Libya even an agrarian society. But look at Nigeria, with the arable lands that we have, with the resources that we can utilize through the petrodollar that we seem to have been enjoying since the 70s, we failed to plan. And as it were now, fuel seems to be the dominant force of anything we do in this country. Whether you want to talk of it as the engine room of our economy, or you want to see it as the special purpose vehicle to move things around. There is nothing that you do with oil in this country that will not have a spiral effect. It is not only the enemy that will be talking right now. Look at that market woman talking about the difficulty of transporting food items from the rural area to the urban area. Because prices have already gone up. Who bears the body? The citizen. But this is a problem that ought not to be.
So we have different people do critical analysis, and largely some would say that it is because our refineries are not working. That's why we are where we are today. And some have said, okay, we have Dangote refinery coming up, and they are also talking about, you know, different issues, you know, coming from that sector, that angle, saying that, oh, it is going to be dependent on forex, market forces will determine how much Dangote is going to sell his petrol. And then you have another narrative that says that, oh, NNPC is going to enjoy the monopoly of buying from, you know, the Ipman, you know, other independent marketers are saying that you cannot be selling alone to the NNPC. Let us go directly to get this so that we can. So, but then the mind of every Nigerian, especially when it comes to this issue of fuel and of course the narrative of refineries, has been that if one is working, especially like it was as if we built our hope on Dangote refinery, that if it is working, it starts to work and producing this fuel, it will be a relief, you know, for Nigerians, and it's not looking like that is going to come to reality.
Well, a number of people have been saying that, well, if Dangote gets operational, at least 40% of our foreign exchange will be saved. Yes, I agree, but don't forget, Dangote is a businessman. He has not built that refinery for government or for the people of Nigeria. He has to recoup his money. 20 billion naira is $1 billion. It's not a joke in this kind of economy that we are. He will want to recoup his money back. And of course, why did we fail to ensure that our refinery, 4 are not working? Out of the, before Dangote refinery started operational, there used to be 10 largest refineries in the whole of Africa, with the Algerian Skida refinery being the largest of about, it was producing 356 barrels per day. But thank God for Dangote, 650. And out of the 4 refineries that we have, in fact, the Port Harcourt refinery, until it went under, used to be the 3rd largest refinery in Africa, producing 210,000 barrels of oil per day. Why did we allow all of this to go under? And it's a reflection of the systemic rot in every section of the nation's economy. But my desire, I have said it once on this table, my desire is that if this is the only sector that the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will look into to ensure an holistic overhaul, to bring to bear transparency, to bring to bear honesty, to bring to bear closing up the seeming leakages that we are seeing day by day with all tech that we hear here and there, despite the employment of Tantita, despite the engagement of all the security agencies, that Nigeria cannot even reach up to the OPEC quota that has been given to her.
So what kind of order can the president give? Being the for instance, you have the vice president inviting Melekiari, Lukubiri over petrol price hike. You know, we saw some reports saying that we did not even approve the increase in the pump price of petrol in Nigeria. And you have the president being the Minister of Petroleum, you know, and then you have state. Definitely some are saying that the president should resign and give this mandate to somebody that would be able to drive the industry really well. The coming of President Bola Tinubu gave a lot of hope, you know, to people that, okay, maybe because of what he has done in Lagos, some would even contest what he has done in Lagos, saying that what exactly has he done in Lagos? He didn't do anything in Lagos. Some would say that. But looking at how they are driving this issue around the oil and gas industry in Nigeria, do you see any hope that we're going to get somewhere better than where we used to be?
I have not seen any glimmer of hope. Let me just say it. Because, like I told you, it's a systemic rot. Until all Nigerians are prepared to be honest and sincere with
all
them.
Nigerians.
Yes, I know what I'm saying. All of us have a lot to do in this instance. Take, for instance, somebody that got a dump of, a number of barrels of oil dumped in his site, in his filling station, for, say, about 600 naira last week, and suddenly he has not received new stock, and he's selling it for 1,200.
That's massive.
Can you just imagine? That's why I said all of us have a hand in it. We have to be sincere with ourselves. What of those who are just taking jerry cans into the filling station because they have contact with those who are in the filling stations? They sell it to them into jerry cans. You now hear that 5 liters of oil in a jerry can now is 5,000. He goes out, he sells it, makes his money. Until we do the needful to be honest and sincere with ourselves, else may roll. But if there is no holistic approach to what we want to do with an open mind, with sincerity to help each other, it's not only in the oil sector alone. Our society is rotting now. And it will only take, even where an angel comes, you know, people will say, they will push that angel aside.
When you look at how workers are reacting to this new increment, you know, when it started, after the subsidy was removed, and then President Bola Tinubu actually made an announcement, you heard palliatives coming from different quarters. You know, some have said that palliative is not going to solve anything this time around.
Yes.
Let's face the problem, the real problems of this country, and deal with, you know, whatever it is that we have to deal with. Some are already calling for palliatives, you know, to cushion the effect of this new increment. I don't know for how long that is going to happen. You know, offices, workers are already, you know, employers of labor are actually cutting down on days that people would come to work. You can see what Lagos State is doing. And of course, I think we started that, you know, state when that happened, when the subsidy was removed. The first announcement, you know, the way, you know, palliatives rolled out in terms of how many days you're going to go to work, and they have started that again. And you look at the streets of Abeokuta, for instance, because that's where we are. You just see everywhere it's started, and people are still looking for food. How exactly can we get out of this?
It's unfortunate that a good number had suddenly found themselves pauperized. There is no middle class again because of this suddenness of that price change. But I tell you, accountability is still the key, no matter the qualities you provide. Those who are caught stealing our crude oil, how many of them have you had taken into court for litigation? We only hear that on the ICICs the ships have been destroyed. When you destroy the evidence, what kind of thing do you want to use again? We are bamboozling ourselves. We need sincerity of purpose,
and that
not palliative. Even when they said they want to give us CNG vehicles, how many of these CNG vehicles have you seen? How many of these CNG filling stations do we have in Ogun State? How many? How many of these converting stations have people had access to? Because to reduce the burden on fuel, we need to holistically look at our transportation system. It is not only until a man takes his car out that he gets to where he wants to go. Most of these people that are ruling us, they have opportunities to travel out. I had seen in a video recently sent by somebody, your state governor, in a train service in abroad recently. How many of them travel by train? How many of them use the land mass transit in Lagos? Everybody wants to take his vehicle.
Maybe.
So we need to look at how we can improve on the transportation system to help rural and urban transportation, to help even urban mass street transportation in such a way that the economy of the single Nigerian will be improved upon. Because you can imagine if a worker that lives in Onikologo comes to this place that we are today on a daily basis, he will have spent nothing less than almost 2,500 to get here. How much does he earn? So this area has to be looked into, and it tells on the income. Not to talk of he has to provide for his children, buy food, buy gas, pay for electricity. And again, there is something that government has to look into. Yes, we have been calling for removal of subsidy, but people have been saying, in which nation does subsidy scheme not taking place? Which nation? You take UK, you take US, that all of us run to, you take Canada, they subsidize certain things for their people to enjoy. If this is the only thing federal government wants to subsidize for the people, I think we need to look into it again. So because the cost of fuel has a spiral effect not only on food prices, but on the general living condition of the people. Students will say when they get back to school now, they have hiked their hostel cost, not only tuition cost. How many of them will get the National Education Loan Fund? How many we have access?
Okay, because this is a very crucial discussion, it cannot be exhausted, at a sitting of maybe 15-20 minutes. It's an ongoing discussion. You can have different programs address the current crisis in the fuel, the oil and gas industry, talking about the petrol right now. Nigerians are coping as well as they are lamenting. Where do you turn to? You turn to government. Government said, I will fix this, I will fix that. And that's still the expectation of most Nigerians. We hope that the critical stakeholders are meeting seriously so that this would not continue. The suffering of the people would also be looked into. We move straight to security matters, and this time around, NEC directs state governors to submit reports on state police. This time around, you have the National Executive Council urging states yet to make submissions on the proposed state police to submit their report on or before September 9. This is another crucial matter in Nigeria. There are some that are against state police. There are some that are saying that it is the way to go because of the nature of security in this our age. You have different reactions. In fact, the IGP was represented at an event, and of course the person representing the IGP was saying that they do not actually believe in state police because they know what governors do with other things, you know, in their domain. And of course, this time around, allowing the governors to also have that power to have their own decision when it comes to security matters would not be will not go down well with the structure that we're practicing now. So different debates from left to right. You also have the former president saying that that's President Muhammadu Buhari opposing, you know, state policing as well because of his own biases, you know, especially in the area of, oh, we told them to give local government autonomy, they are not giving them. So if you give them state policing, you know what they will do? They will use it to harass their opponent most of the time. So these are ongoing debates. And now we have a serious government saying that everybody should submit their report. Whether you are for it or against it, we want to know your disposition. That would determine how, what direction the federal is going to go. I don't know the direction you are going this morning.
Hey, let me just start by saying, I hope this is not another rhetoric to defer this decision or just to wet the ground for the people to be anticipatory or be expectant that something is in the offing. But be that as it may, it's a constitutional matter. Until the constitution is amended to reflect this, nothing happens. Maybe they want to take an executive bill to the National Assembly. That's why they are giving this order. But Nigerians cannot continue to live in the events of the past which transpired, particularly during the era you call the Wild Wild Wests in the First Republic. And that is the era of Wete in Western region, or the era of the First Republic, where in each region has its own state police. In fact, they have constabulary. No, that was what was in vogue. And when you go to developed nations, in fact, there are not less than 3 or 4 other arms of policing that they seem to have. Apart from, you see it in US, you know, the local police is there, I've forgotten how it skipped my mind now, how they call it in some locales in developed nations. But what I'm trying to say, whether it is IG or the chief, those regarded as the chief security officer in the state, in the person of the governors now, they will misuse it or not. It depends on the side of the pendulum you are swinging. It depends on the side you belong. We have seen situation where the current situation where the federal police have misbehaved. They have seemingly shown the direction they are in terms of the person that they are subject, they get their order from. And we have seen situation where even at the local, they are being misused for a purpose. And that was why I was saying earlier on that every one of us has a hand in whatever is in Nigeria. We have to determine what really a nation do we want as Nigerians. Do you want a nation? Do you want an ethnic grouping? Do you want just a confederation of nations? After all, if you look at United Kingdom, there are not less than 3 or 4 nations there. Everybody goes there. We have Wales, we have Scotland, we have Ireland, and then we have England. and it is called United Kingdom. And they are ruling themselves.
So
they have unwritten
United
constitution.
States of Nigeria.
So if that is what is suit us, so that everybody can have his own security to secure its environment as it wills. But as it were now, events have shown that there is need for us to add up, to step up the level of policing in this country. Our dependence on the current federal policing is out of vogue.
You know, part of the narratives that you listen to on the streets is largely that, oh, there's no policy you bring into Nigeria, and the policy would, there's no policy you bring into Nigeria that the drivers will not have a way of manipulating.
Yes.
Along the line, you have fantastic ideas, fantastic policies that keeps, pushing the different narratives of the common people, how that is going to actually help, take away the burden of the people off the table. And then you have people saying that it is a deliberate attempt to keep the people where they are. So whatever debate we're having on whatever policy is not going to actually change anything, because there is a bigger picture of keeping the people where they are. And the security of people is also critical at this stage. I don't know why, whether things will change from...
That informed my pronouncement, or what I said earlier on, that Nigerians have to decide. Because enough of this postponement of the day of doom. We are deceiving ourselves.
Nigerians will have to decide. That's what my guest is saying.
Before you even engage me, who sponsors or who finances the logistics for police in every state?
The people.
No.
The government.
The state government. So what are we saying?
But then when you get there, you also have the different reports. The people also do part of the job. So let's move straight from here, from Nigeria to the sub-Sahara. Let's talk about the West African states, that's the Economic Community of West African States, talking about ECOWAS, and there is a deteriorative relations between ECOWAS and 3 estranged Sahelian nations, which include Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. They are further, just tearing apart each day. The ECOWAS, there was a crisis. Of course, the 3 actually said they are going to pull out of West Africa. They are making practical steps now, because it was observed, from reports that Burkina Faso actually introduces new passport without ECOWAS logo. You check your Nigerian passport, you have the ECOWAS logo, and you check that of other West African states, you have ECOWAS logo that is stating that we are one, and this has to do with the different policies they put together to largely address the common challenges of the Western, the South, the sub-Saharan nations, and including trade, to ensure that there is integration and of course there is development at the different countries. And this time around, it has been noticed that they're actually not joking that they are pulling out of ECOWAS, despite what the chairman, who happens to be the president of Nigeria, has been doing to ensure that they bring these 3 countries back into the bloc. Are you surprised at any point?
I'm not surprised, because let us look at the antecedent. On January 28, 2024, these 3 countries jointly said they were pulling out of ECOWAS, and they are forming what they called an alliance of Sahelian states. That is something that we must look out for. Why? It is part of what we have been discussing concerning our nation. But majority of their own problem emanated from colonialism. They were displeased. They feel disenchanted rather, with the manner with which those who colonized them, particularly France, how they are feared in terms of their economy, in terms of their resources, what they should have been enjoying. And that accounted for majority of why they decided to peel out, because they are not enjoying the benefit of what seemingly have been the God blessing, resources that God has given them, and as an independent nation. What they are getting back is not encouraging. Also, Burkina Faso decided
a system of assimilation,
and then in that part
would say that it's an interesting policy that the France actually used to in its colonies in Africa. And of course, some would say that, especially when you're trying to get your passport, or when you're trying to get into francophone countries, maybe France, they give them opportunities to come into their country without with limited limited scrutiny, and then you say they should enjoy that. Along the line, you look at, we give examples of what is working in Benin Republic, for instance. There is electricity that we say Nigeria actually supply them. Along the line, you still have people say that it's because their own supervisor is still much around. That's why some things are working. And why should we always blame the colonizers at the end of the day, if we are also perpetrating whatever it is that they are pushing? We are also doing it for our own people.
The nature of colonization with the British and the French was quite different in those era. Where the British gave a little level of freedom to the colonies it governed. The intention of the French then was to Frenchify the colonies under it. And as a result of that, they have forgotten the fact that there is always a season, there is always a time. Everything cannot, a season cannot last forever. The same thing with time. And things changes with time. The people are not in support any longer from what they get back in return with the Frenchified system of governance.
When you look at the sanctions, for instance, ECOWAS lifted the sanctions on these three nations, and one would expect that would lure them back into the fold, into the bloc, to bring them back. That's the intention of ECOWAS. In fact, they were even trying to apologize where it was needed. When you look at that and look at what they are trying to do for themselves, some still say that you don't want French, but you have Russia trying to dictate things in these countries that we're talking about. Is it at the bidding of the other colonizers now, because they say it's a different format? Is it the bidding of the new colonizers that are actually looking better for these countries to change?
I would not say it is still a time for them to celebrate, because all of these people they have run to will soon show their faces when the time comes. But what I want to draw out is the fact that a hungry man is an angry man. They are just venting their anger on what has happened and what ECOWAS have done. And you see, sometimes people will say, why did Nigeria not go ahead with the war as a leader of ECOWAS? We have to think twice. Nigerian borders along this area, Niger alone, covers nothing less than 700,000 kilometers. And you can imagine that distance. And we have to be cautious. We have to guide our allowance. A number of exchanges have even been made with all the ties have been made with all this country. But the issue again is all about security. Because as we are saying, yes, they have ties with China, they have ties with Russia. The issue of the Sahelian, the ISIS that have been troubling them, the government, the seeming unknown government that have been terrorizing them, have they been resolved? No. No. And again, they are falling. It all depends on what they are looking for. I mean, the ruling elites now, the military junta are there, because they are not looking at the future gains. They are just looking at the immediate gains. And you don't know the opera that could arise again. as a result of this.
Saying that with this development, ECOWAS is going to strengthen its ties in such a way that you no longer would have such reactions like trade embargoes being placed on erring nations and all of that, and of course strengthen what unites them, which is the trade agreement that they have signed across the board, and that would give them a lot of things to look forward to. You know, you have, for instance, Morocco trying to join ECOWAS recently. I don't know how far they've gone. I think they have suspended that. Is it? Yes, they wanted to join ECOWAS. I think I was in school.
Mauritania that would
exactly. So along the line, you see people looking at the them. At the end of the day, if we have leaders that are strengthening these ties and bringing out programs that would further push the development of the different nations that belong to that, encourage more participation, or to further divide if they are not doing something different from what they've been doing before now.
European Union, Organization of American States, and then you look at the South African Development Communities, SADCs, you know, that was what led to it in 1973 by the late military head of state, by the former military head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, who is still living. But I tell you, around that time, Nigeria's economy was buoyant. But today, is our economy buoyant to tolerate, to accommodate all these insignificance that these ones are showing? Can we continue to sponsor? If you look at ECOWAS today, a number of states within that bloc are still owing the secretariat of that organization. A number of financial...
When you have China come to build headquarters for ECOWAS, you also have, intrigues of power.
Everybody is looking for how to take benefit from our economic resources, the natural resources that we have. And that's why we have all these Chinese. Look at the issue of what happens to the Zambian railway. That the Chinese are taking over. In fact, I don't know...
developing economies, or developed economies largely have been saying that Africa should take its own, that Africa